one of the, one of the key things is the mind doesn't differentiate, like I've just showed you before, between this sort of real experience, one that's vividly imagined. So it's a bit like, in one sense, when we watch a film and you know it's not real, you watch a scary film, so to speak, and you sort of feel that, you know, emotion that goes with it. But we've seen a lot of studies as well. There's been a lot of research studies. There's a lot of research studies. You can sort of check them out yourself, between people rehearsing. We talked about last week for technique, how people who visualize for technique demonstrate improvements. But today we're going to focus on the game situation. And it's about building these neural pathways to strengthen the ones that we've got already. We've got to be really crystal clear around visualization. That's the sort of the key point. We want to be really, really clear. So this is, you know, to sort of elaborate. So just when you get time, so if you go back over the chapter 14, page 73, and we'll touch base and make sure that we're really clear about how to do the process, and we'll keep practicing this process, which is the important thing. But let's focus on the next match and focus on your role. Obviously, there's 100 players here, so we can't do a script for every one of you. But what we do is, the key is for you to go away and develop. If you need help developing the script, you've got me, the coaches as well, that can help you with that. But the key thing is we're going to focus and keep it real on the next match. The next match is key. What you need to do, first of all, which is key, guys, is your role in a team. You need to know and be very clear what is your role in the team and what is the game plan. And this obviously comes from the coach of the team, the manager of the team, but this needs to be crystal clear, really, really clear. Because what we do is we have a script, guys. So in the script, like we did last week, the technique, this time we're focusing on your role. What is your role in that team? And what you focus on is different scenarios too. So we start, and let's focus on the next game you're playing, for example, okay? And this you can revisit again on Saturday evening when you're ready for the next game, or if you're playing on Sunday, for example, and we'll touch base again next week. So what I want you to do first of all is sort of going to do a bit of a script here, guys. So I'm going to start with the ground you're playing at. If you haven't played at that ground before and you've got time between now and the next game, I strongly suggest you go to the ground and get a feel for it and have a look around, because the brain likes familiarity. The more familiar it is, the more comfortable is that environment. Obviously, it might not be able to go to the changing room, or if you're at home, in your home ground, you can experience the changing room. Obviously, you know it's the changing room, but you need to focus on the time of the game. Is it evening or daytime? The weather, the temperature, the opposition, the crowd, and different scenarios. And your role is key. Okay, so different scenarios. We go down 1-0. What do? We go up 1-0. What do we do? Your role is really key. So it's really, really important that you're very clear. And I'll show you an example of that. But these are the key things. Okay, the ground where I'm playing. And you'll know when they play Champions League, what happens. The team will arrive a day or so earlier, and they'll go to the ground to get a feel for the ground if they haven't been there before. Obviously, it's a big, big deal. So that's sort of key things. Now, let me give you an example. I keep saying about the role, and let me give you an example. So this is for a defensive midfielder, one that I sort of help script for a defensive midfielder. I won't reveal his name because of confidentiality, but this gives you an idea. I know not all of you defensive midfielders, and we've got all positions and over 100 players here, but you got to be clear on your own role. So we did the weather, the environment, the shirt colors, the grass, smells, taste, all the sensory experience. And this will give you a bit of an idea what he ran through his mind. So when the opposing team is in position and on the attack, drop deeper to provide extra help in defense to break up the play and for the team to regain possession. We need to read the game well and anticipate the next phase of play. Close down the opposition. So we highlight the opposition that he would need to close down. by intercepting passes as well. So, going to get which passes are going to be intercepted, which are the key passes to intercept, because obviously you don't want to run around like a headless chicken everywhere. You want to make sure that you're very clear on what you're doing. You know which passes you need to intercept to break down. You need to put in important tackles to avoid opposition from attacking further up the field. So it's the key areas where you're going to sort of, do your tackles. And then you see yourself perfectly timing a tackle to dispossess the opponent. Timing of tackles is key. Anticipate the play. Heavy, strong work rate that will close down their position. Force errors upon the other team, and also disrupt the opponent's attacking moves and pass before it reaches the defense. So they're key things. Then you can read the script in detail, and you look at it, the script, with all sensory and emotion, and you've got to read through it and think, well, do I feel this? Is it like I'm experiencing the match? If not, you re-examine the descriptors and change it to reflect your sensory perception, and also what you need to include. And then basically, I mentioned for 100 players, we're not going to also be able to sort of focus on every position, but we'll sort of give you the gist and what to do and what we're going to do going forward. But then when you've got that, it's like you're watching yourself on TV, dissociated on TV. And you can start the visualization process, like, for example, what doesn't have to be a 3D film. It can be, visualize your front door, visualize a football, visualize the ground. Then bit by bit, you get into the right state of mind. And then when you've got it on TV, like exactly you want it, that's the perfect. Then you step in like the here and now. That's the key. I suppose one example would be you choose a player can be helpful. Sometimes it's good to choose a player. So the script I did here, the player I was working with, I said, why don't you watch N'Golo Kante? He's a defensive midfielder. Let's watch him on video, like YouTube. You can watch him, obviously 100 players. So I really strongly recommend you choose a player that's in your position, and that will help you as well. But equally, what you could do is sort of be very clear with your coach. So obviously, you can watch, you can tell a player to watch, Kante or Ronaldo, whatever the player is, or if it's a goalkeeper, but you've got to make sure that the role that they are playing, fits in with the role you need to play for your team, because that's the key thing. But this can be a useful guide. So if the player did this script, I said to him, if you get a chance to go to a live game, watch Kante. If you don't go to the live game, then just watch on video, just see what he does, for example. So if the player in question, I said, well, just watch how he plays and just take note of the things he does. That can help you, but that's not a substitute for the for doing that. So what I want you to do, guys, now I'm going to sort of guide you through this now, just sort of very briefly, and then I'll sort of take questions, and then we'll sort of refine it, and we'll wrap up with our sort of yoga. So if you're comfortable enough to close your eyes, you can do. You can sort of close your eyes. But what I want you to do, if you're sort of closing your eyes, is just going to a relaxed state. So perhaps you can just think of a time you were sort of calm, and maybe at a beach or gone for a walk, or just in a really calm state in that sort of activity. And what I want you to do now is to sort of think about the next game, the ground you're playing, what it looks like, the colors, the changing room, the smells in the changing room, perhaps you even sort of taste the sports drink, the time of the game, if it's at 3 o'clock, the temperature, the weather, the opposition, the shirts they'll be wearing, the crowd, and just different scenarios. Now we've got to be really clear on your role. And I mentioned earlier the role of the defensive midfield of that player I was working with. So you're clear on your role. But we can do this and just have a practice. And even if you're not a defensive midfield and this is not your role, it may help you get into the mind of someone who is. So if you're playing against them, it can be beneficial. So think about it from a defensive midfielder. You're playing this game and think about when the opposing team is in possession and on the attack, you drop back deeper to provide extra help in defense. You break up the play and you regain possession. You pass to a free player, you move off the ball, you read the game well and anticipate the next phase of play. Okay, you're very clear on who you're closing down and which passes you intercept. So you need to put in important tackles to avoid the opposition from attacking further up the field. And you see yourself perfectly timing these tackles to dispossess the opponents. The timing of the tackles, anticipate play, your work rate, you see your work rate, and you're closing down opposition. You're forcing errors and disrupt the opponent's attacking moves and pass before it reaches the defense. And you can sort of see yourself on the screen doing that. And when you sort of got the screen perfect the way you want it, then you can imagine stepping in and doing it in the here and now. So you imagine yourself playing in the here and now. So it's the here and now. You're in the moment. You notice the weather. It could be a gentle breeze. Might be hot. There's different permutations. It could be rain, just different permutations. The environment, the color of your shirt, the color around you, the smell of the grass, any taste like sports drinks, hearing people around you. And just in the here and now, when the opposition are on their attack, you just imagine dropping a bit deeper, breaking up play, and just reading the game really, really well, and closing down, intercept passes, and making perfectly timed tackles, and your work rate. You're sort of very clear on your work rate. Okay, and you think of different permutations in the game that could happen, different scenarios, okay, which is key going forward. So, okay, so that's what we need to do, guys, is be very clear on a script and gradually sort of coming back to the here and now. And obviously I've guided you through like a general script for a certain position, but we need to be very clear on your position. That's the key going forward, what you require. And you've got to be crystal clear on what your role is in the team. The clearer you are, the better chance you've got of succeeding. Really, really important. You're sort of crystal clear in terms of your position. You're really, really clear. The brain likes clarity. And the one way to be really clear, if you had to explain to someone what your role is, if you had to explain to like a 5-year-old what your role in the team is, that's how crystal clear you want to be. Really, really clear. And you rehearse it over and over again, even for like 10, 15, 20 minutes before, in the evening before, the night before a game, 2 nights before a game, and sort of, go from there. And then you know that you've built neural pathways in the brain or strengthened ones there, and you're ready. You've got the upper hand on the opposition in terms of if they're not doing the same thing too. But if they're doing the same thing, it's about, all about permutations and scenarios in terms of putting the work in. And obviously other variables that are important in the game, like fitness and technique and tactical soul. But we can sort of get the best out of ourselves by doing this in that way. Okay.